Next year is going to be a big year. It's going to be a big year for reading. I've said it here. You heard it here first. That sounds amazing. Hey Tandem fandom, Char here, and welcome to the Tandem Collective, where you can find the latest in book recommendations, bookish news, and what is going on with Team Tandem. Today, we are talking all things 2025. It is time for us to be talking about what is coming out next year. So we have put together, or rather I have put together, 25 titles that I am excited for next year. There are some obvious choices on there, but it's a really well-rounded in terms of genre list, I think. So let's get into it. So I'm going to kick off by saying that, like I said, there are some obvious titles on here, some crowd pleasers, and then there are a good few anticipated sequels and like endings of series. But they are all books that we are really excited for here on the team. And I've also got some exciting news for you, which could be a prize. It is a prize. So stick around to the end to find out what that is about. But if you've been following us on socials, you know we've got some exciting stuff going on in terms of our newsletters. So make sure you stay till the end for that. So I'm going to get into it, and we're going to start with someone that I don't think that I can't even start this list without talking about the love of my life, Emily Henry, who has another book coming out next year, which is called Great Big Beautiful Life. So this one follows Alison Hayden, who have been invited to like the house of like this former like socialite. She's like a tragic heiress. She's like a former tabloid princess and is a daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families. And so they've both been like tasked to write her memoir, but she's giving them both differing bits of information, and they've signed an ironclad NDA, so they're not allowed to like share information. So it's obviously like a close proximity workplace romance-y, maybe, romance. I don't really know, but I am down. I need it now. So if anyone from Viking Books is watching this, please send me a copy, because I love Emily Henry. But let's read the blurb. Two writers compete for the chance to tell the larger-than-life story of an heiress with more than a few plot twists up their sleeve in this dazzling and sweeping novel from Emily Henry. When Margaret Ives, the famous reclusive heiress, invites eternal optimist Alice Scott to the balmy little Crescent Island, Alice knows this is it, her big break. And even more rare, a chance to impress her family with a serious publication. The catch, Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud Hayden Anderson is sure of the same thing. The proposal, a 1-month trial period to unearth the truth behind one of the most scandalous families of the 20th century, after which she'll choose who to tell her story. The problem? Margaret is only giving each of them half of the tantalising pieces that they can't put together because of an ironclad NDA and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. And it's becoming abundantly clear that their story, just like the tale that Margaret is spinning, could be a mystery, tragedy, or a love ballad, depending on who's telling it. Seems like a bit of a pivot, and I don't doubt that it's very similar to her other books, but I think like that element of like mystery and having that important third person is going to change the dynamic a bit, and I'm excited about it. This sounds really, really good, and I'm excited. So that is out in April, I think, next year. Next up, the next book needs no introduction. If you're a fan of this series, you will know it was big news this year. But it is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, out in March next year. So finally, after years and years and years of us begging Suzanne Collins to write it, we are getting Haymitch's story. Or about Haymitch's games. We don't know how much Haymitch is going to be involved. And you just know this one is going to break your heart. Like, I don't know what else to say other than I don't know how I'm going to wait for November for this and then wait another year for the movie. No, let's read the blurb together. When you've been set up to lose everything you love, what is there left to fight for? As the day dawns on the 50th annual Hunger Games, fear grips the districts of Panem. This year, in honour of the Quattuquel, twice as many tributes will be taken from their homes. Back in District 12, Haymitch Abernathy is trying not to think too hard about his chances. All he cares about is making it through the day and being with the girl he loves. When Haymitch's name is called, all he can feel is his dreams break. He's torn from his family and his love, shuttled to the capital with 3 other District 12 tributes, a young friend who's nearly a sister to him, a compulsive oddsmaker, and the most stuck-up girl in town. As the games begin, Haymitch understands he's been set up to fail, but there's something in him that wants to fight. And have that fight reverberate far beyond the deadly arena. Like, I obviously know we're supposed to, like, Haymitch has his arc in the stories, but I think this is really going to open up a new facet of everything that we know about him. And I do wonder, like, the point of view we're going to get, and yeah, I just scared but excited. But yes, that is the second book on the list. Okay, so next up we have our first sequel of the list, and it is out in January, so you don't have long to wait for this one. And it is the one and only Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Now, I think I'm the only person left in the whole world that hasn't read Fourth Wing, so all I really know about it is that it's spicy and there are dragons, so I guess this will be more of that. But seriously, like, Fourth Wing is on my TBR, and I am hoping to squeeze it in this month, like maybe in that week in between Christmas. But I feel like I've said that to a lot of people about a lot of books now, so I'm doing my best, but I am going to read it. Definitely not going to read both that and Iron Flame before Onyx Storm comes out, so sorry about that. But let's read the blurb. So after nearly 18 months at Basgiath Worth College, Violet Sorrengail knows there's no more time for lessons. No more time for uncertainty, because the battle has truly begun. And with enemies closing in from outside their walls and within their ranks, it's impossible to know who to trust. Now Violet must journey beyond the failing Orician walls to seek allies from unfamiliar lands to stand with Navarre. The trip will test every bit of her wit, luck and strength, but she will do anything to save what she loves. Her dragons, her family, her home, and him. Even if it means keeping a secret so big it could destroy everything. They need an army, they need power, they need magic, and they need the one thing only Violet can find, the truth. But a storm is coming, and not everyone can survive its wrath. I mean, that sounds great. So yeah, like I said, can't really add much more because I don't really know about them, but I know that this is going to be high on all of your lists, and as soon as I've read Fourth Wing, I'll let you know. So another obvious one on the list, I think, but the queen of spicy STEM romances is back. Ali Hazelwood has a new book out, and it is a new, for me, facet into like sports romance, because this follows a couple where one is a swimmer and one is a diver, and this is of course Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, which is out in February. I do like sports romance. I'm very much like a football romance, obviously a hockey, but I've never read like a swimming romance, so I don't know, let's read the book and find out what's going on. Scarlett Vandermeer is swimming upstream. A junior at Stanford and a student athlete who specialises in platform diving, Scarlett prefers to keep her head down, I like that, concentrating on getting into med school and recovering from the injury that almost ended her career. She has no time for relationships, at least that's what she tells herself. Swim captain, world champion, all-round aquatics golden boy Lucas Bloomquist thrives on discipline. It's how he wins gold medals and breaks records. Complete focus with every stroke. On the surface, Lucas and Scarlett have nothing in common until a well-guarded secret slips out and everything changes. So they start an arrangement. And as the pressure leading to Olympics heats up, so does their relationship. It's supposed to be just a temporary, mutually satisfying fling, but when staying away from Lucas becomes impossible, Scarlett realises that her heart may be treading into dangerous water. I mean, can the swimming be sexy? Yes, it can. And if Ali Hazelwood says it's so, then I guess it must be true. I've actually not read any Ali Hazelwood, so let me know where I should start. But I will definitely be adding this one to my TBR because it sounds like it's a fake dating situation. And I think I've told you before that I actually think that fake dating into real dating is one of the best romance tropes, and I will not be told any differently. So, okay, so for the next one, I'm actually going to keep it. I'm going to start with the blurb because it's snappy and it's actually what really hooked me. I've not read anything by this author, so I'm going to read it for you. Santo Domingo de la Calzada, 1532, London, 1837, and Boston, 2019. 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high and one grows deep and one grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. I think that sounds fantastic. It's giving you nothing, but also everything, I feel. So that is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which is out in June next year. And like I said, I haven't read anything by V.E. Schwab. I do have Addie LaRue, literally, I can see it on my shelf over there. And it is highly recommended to me by my sister, by the team. And so I think I will definitely pick this one up. But it sounds fantastic. So yeah, is this on any of the TBRs? Have you heard about this? I feel like it needs like bumping right to the top. June is my birthday month, so I feel like it's a good like birthday present to myself. But yeah, I think that sounds so good. So we are moving straight into the next title, and actually another highly anticipated read, and that is Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. She's back. It's out in August next year, so you do have a little while to wait. I can't find the full blurb, but here's what we do know for now. Catabasis, noun, ancient Greek. The story of a hero's descent into the underworld. Two academic rivals from Cambridge must travel to hell to rescue the soul of their advisor. Getting there was easy, surviving it and each other is another thing entirely. Next year is going to be a big year. It's going to be a big year for reading. I've said it here. You heard it here first. That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. I really loved Yellowface and I loved Babel. So this one is going on the TBR. This is bad for my bank balance, especially because it's like 3 weeks till Christmas. I don't know what to tell you that I should not be buying any more books. Especially not now. We're heading back into romance with an author that I've personally not read, but I always see them on TikTok, and that is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Now, before I even look at the blurb, is that a Taylor Swift reference? I guess we'll never know, but we'll find out when we read it. So here's the blurb. There might be no such thing as the perfect guy, but Xavier Rush comes disastrously close. A gorgeous veterinarian giving Greek god vibes, all while cuddling a tiny kitten. Immediately, yes. That is until Xavier opens his mouth and proves that even sculpted gods can say the absolute wrong thing. Like, really wrong. Of course, there's nothing Samantha loves more than proving an... I don't know if I can say that. Proving an a-hole wrong. Unless, of course, he can admit he made a mistake. But after one incredible and seemingly endless date, possibly the best in living history, Samantha is forced to admit the truth, that her family is in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible. Samantha begs Xavier to forget her, to remember their night together as a perfect moment, as crushing as that may be. Only no amount of distance or time is nearly enough to forget that something between them, and the only thing better than one single perfect memory is to make a life, and even love, worth remembering. That sounds sad. But surely they get together. Like, that is actually a thing. Fingers crossed, but that is the next one on the list. And that is out in April next year. The one thing I do actually know about Abby Jimenez is that I love, like, the vibe that her books have when publishing. Like, you can see, like, she has a very consistent, like, typeface colours. They're always bright and they always, like, jump out at me on the shelf. So I'll absolutely be reading this one next year. Let me know where I should start with Abby Jimenez's books. Okay, so we're moving into a little bit of fantasy now with our next title. And that is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana, who is the author of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. So that's like peak cozy fantasy. And all of the reviews so far have described this as like cozy or like a warm hug of a book. So let's read the blurb because honestly, that is totally my vibe. Sarah Swan was once one of the most powerful witches in Britain. Then she resurrected her great aunt, lost most of her magic, befriended a semi-villainous talking fox, and was exiled from her magical guild. Now she runs an inn in Lancashire, where she deals with her quirky guest shenanigans, tries to keep the fox in check, and longs for the magical future she lost, until she discovers an old spell book that could hold the secret to restoring her power, and turns to Luke Larson, a brilliant historian and human glacier. Luke has his own reasons for staying at the inn, and none of them involve letting a certain grumpy innkeeper past his icy walls. So no one is more surprised than he when he not only agrees to help, but finds himself thawing. And as Luke and Sarah work together to decipher the book, Sarah starts to realise that love and the family she's made could be the best magic of all. I mean, what is not to love about that? I want to book a weekend away at that inn right now. Like, I could definitely do with a weekend away at Magical Inn in Lancashire. Take me there right now. So Mitchell's Guide to Magical Innkeeping is out in April 2025. April's going to be a big year, a big month next year. So next up we've got another sequel, and that is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. So we actually did a read-along of the second book in the series, and everyone loved it. And I mean, what's not to love about, again, I guess this is like cozy fantasy. It's like the main character studies fairies, and I mean, that's cute. That's so cute. So the blurb, let's read the blurb together. Emily Wilde has spent her life studying fairies. A renowned dryadologist, she has documented hundreds of species of folk in her encyclopedia of fairies. Now she's about to embark on her most dangerous academic project yet, studying the inner workings of the fairy realm as its queen. Along with her former academic rival, now fiancé. Oh, it's enemies to lovers! Rivals to lovers! I need to read them. I need to read them right now. Sorry. The dashing and mercurial, no one uses that word enough. Wendell Bumblebee. Emily is immediately thrust into the deadly intrigues of fairy as the two of them seize the throne of Wendell's long-lost kingdom, which Emily finds a beautiful nightmare, filled with scholarly treasures. Emily has been obsessed with fairy stories her entire life, but at first she feels as ill-suited to fairy as she did with the mortal world. How could an unassuming scholar like herself pass for a queen? Yet there is little time to set in to settle in. Wendell's murderous stepmother has placed a deadly curse upon the land before vanishing without a trace. It will take all of Wendell's magic and Emily's knowledge to stories to unravel the mystery before they lose everything they hold dear. Okay. These went on the radar for me, but that has really done it for me. I mean, I do like rivals to lovers. I think that's cute. So, yeah. If you like fairies, if you like rivals to lovers, if you like a little bit of intrigue, this one's for you. Okay, so when I was doing the research for this next one, the little description of the book was a hopeless romantic meets a demoralized radio host in this cozy, Sleepless in Seattle inspired love story. Meg Ryan actually is the love of my life. I have a tattoo of Meg Ryan on my arm. I love Meg Ryan. So the fact that this is Sleepless in Seattle inspired is actually, pardon me, such a massive draw. I need this in my hands. So this is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, who is the author of the Love Light series, which is not a series that I've read, but I feel like, do I need to read it? Or do I just need to wait for this one? Because this one sounds fantastic. Anyway, here's the blurb for First Time Caller. It is out the 13th of Feb, just in time for Valentine's Day. Aidan Valentine, his surname is Valentine, has a secret. He's fallen out of love with love. And as the host of Baltimore's romance hotline, that's a bit of a problem. But when a young girl calls into the station asking for dating advice for her mum, the interview goes viral, thrusting Aidan and heartstrings into the light line. Oh, it is like Sleepless in Seattle. This is so cute. Lucy Stone thought she was doing just fine. She has a good job, an incredible family, and a smart, slightly devious kid. But when all of Baltimore is suddenly scrutinizing her love life, or lack thereof, she begins to question if she's as happy as she thought. Maybe a little more romance wouldn't be such a bad thing. Everyone wants Lucy to find her happy ending, even the handsome, temperamental man calling the shots. But when sparks start to fly behind the scenes, Lucy must make the final call between the radio-sponsored Happily Ever After or the man in the headphones next to her. Wow. Okay, that sounds really cute. I need to go and pre-order that one right now. Next up is This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. I'm a big Ashley Winstead fan. I really love her romances, and I've only heard good things from the team about her thrillers. So this one is like true crime vibes. And yeah, I'll read you the book now because it sounds fantastic. It's the most famous crime in modern history, but only she knows the true story. After the unexpected death of her father, college student Jane Sharp longs for a distraction from her grief. She becomes obsessed with true crime, befriending an armchair detectives who teach her how to hunt killers from afar. In this morbid internet underground, Jane finds friendship, purpose, and even glory. So, when news of the shocking deaths of 3 college girls take the world by storm and sleuths everywhere race to solve the crimes, Jane and her friends are determined to beat them. But the case turns out to be stranger than anyone expected. Placing themselves in the centre of the story starts to feel more and more like walking into a trap. Told 1 year after the astounding events that concluded the case and left the world reading, when Jane has finally decided to break her silence about what happened, she tells the true story of the Delphine massacres, and what she has to confess will shock even the most seasoned true crime fans. I love reading fiction that reads like it's a true story. Like, I really enjoyed that in Penance by Eliza Clark. Like, I don't know if anyone had read that and felt the same, but I was reading that and I was like, God, like, this actually sounds like it's real, and the way that it's written, and I feel like this is going to be the same. And I really, really enjoy that. And I really like that it's told like after the events, not as it's happening. That sounds amazing. So our next title is another one actually, that I feel needs no introduction, because if you're a fan of cowboy romance, or really romance at all, you will know about Lila Sage. So the Rebel Blue Ranch series has been taking TikTok by storm, and so number 4 in the series is out next year, and that is Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. So that is out in April. So this series is following that classic like romance thing that follows like another character. So like they're usually like a group of friends or their sisters, or like they all live in the same town. And so this is that, and this one follows Cam and Dusty. And it's going to be a cute second chance romance. Here is the blurb. Camille Ashwood has always loved a plan, but when her groom doesn't show up to their wedding, Cam's life is turned upside down. She doesn't even have a place to live. That is until she finds out that the house she's lived since high school is available to rent. There's only one problem: the neighbour. Dusty Tucker has spent nearly all of his adult life running from Cam, the girl who was his first, well, everything. But then she moves next door. Newly single, Dusty wants to show her that they can just be friends. Despite her best attempts to stay far away from Dusty Tucker, Cam realises that being close to him is like slipping on her favourite jeans. That is until past wounds start to open and feelings, both old and new, wreak havoc. Nearly 10 years after they first met, Dusty and Cam begin to wonder if their first love can also be their last. And this time, will it be forever? Yes, it will! It will be forever, Cam. I do like a book that starts with a jilted wedding. Obviously, I don't enjoy that for them. I think that's very sad. And I would actually cease to exist if someone jilted me. But I just think it sets you up for it just really opens you up to a fantastic romance. And yeah, there is someone, so Elle on the team is a big fan of Lila Sage's. And we've worked on a couple of the books actually, and they are just so good. If you haven't read this series, like, absolutely read them. But this one is getting bumped up. Roll on April is all I can say. Okay, we're halfway through. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for joining me. And we're moving back into fantasy for the next few titles. So kicking us off, we have some Olivia Blake. So Gifted and Talented is the next title, and it has been described as Succession meets magic. So I have watched neither of those things, but honestly, reading the blurb, it sounds fantastic. So it basically follows 3 siblings after the death of their father, and they then have to like sort of deal with like their internal rivalry, their magic potential, and just like everything that's been going on in their life, like basically their whole lives. So yeah, it's got that magical element, but also that classic tension from sibling rivalry. So here's the blurb. Thea Wren, brilliant CEO of Renfair Magitech, is dead. As the father of modern technology, he leaves an incredible legacy, but which of his 3 telepathically and electrokinetically gifted children could inherit the Renfair throne? Meredith, head of her own profitable company, has recently cured mental illness. If only her journalist ex-boyfriend wasn't set on exposing what she really is, a total fraud. Arthur, second youngest congressman ever, wants to do everything right, except his wife might be leaving and he's losing his re-election campaign. Heading Renfair could relaunch his sinking ship. Ailey was a world-famous ballerina until a life-altering injury. Gaining the company might finally validate her worth. On the pipeline of gifted kid to clinically oppressed adult, nobody wins, yet as they gather to read his final words, which Wren will come out on top. So again, I've not actually read anything by Olivia Blake, but this sounds so good. And I love that that mix of, I like magic systems that sit within the real world, like sit within the world that we recognize. And I love this is absolutely up my street. I think this is going to be so fantastic. So yeah, anyone that's popping this on their TBR, let me know in the comments because we need to chat about this. So we're veering into some romantasy with our next title, and that is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen, which has been described as the invisible life of Addie LaRue crossed with One Day. Now, anything crossed with One Day is going to be heartbreaking and probably going to make me cry. So I am sold tentatively because One Day absolutely wrecked me. And I don't know whether I can do that to myself again. But I do love Laura Stephen's books. So here's the blip. Evelyn can remember all of her past lives. She can also remember that in every single one, she's been murdered before her 18th birthday. The problem is that she's quite fond of the one she's in now, and more importantly, her sister needs her for bone marrow transplants to stay alive. So now she has to find the centuries-old enemy who hunts her through each life and destroy them forever, figure out exactly why she's being hunted in the first place, and try quite hard not to fall in love with them. Again. Oh, that's going to be so sad. It's going to be so sad. This was a terrible idea, really, wasn't it? Because I don't think there's one on this list now that I've read out to you that I don't want to pre-order, that I don't want to read. So that's a burden I have to bear. All right, some more YA romancy here from Su Lin Tan with Immortal. So I love the Daughter of the Moon Goddess duology. So I'm really excited that there is a new sort of standalone fantasy from Su Lin Tan. So the blurb is here. So the young heir to Immortal Crown, Li Yen ascends a precarious throne when her grandfather dies, vowing to end her kingdom's obligation to the Immortals and take vengeance against those she feels responsible for his death. When she's summoned to the Immortal Realm, she seizes the opportunity to learn their secrets and form a tenuous alliance to safeguard her people. All with the one she should fear and mistrust the most, the ruthless god of war. As they are drawn together, a treacherous attraction ignites between them, one she has to resist to not endanger all she is fighting for. But with darker forces closing in around them and a kingdom plunged into peril, Li Yen must risk everything to save her people from an unspeakable fate. even if it means forging a dangerous bond with the immortal, even if it means losing her heart. So I think that Sulin Tan does characters really, really well, and this sounds like it's going to be so good. And the romance in Daughter of the Moon Goddess was really like super slow burn. So I'm wondering if this will have like the same sort of vibes, and like it was the same in that, not the same, but like had the same sort of vibes that it is like sort of enemies to lovers, but really not like hate you enemies to lovers, just like we should be enemies, but we're in love. And I like that. I do like that. So we're sticking with YA with our next title, and we have another sequel. But this is definitely one that I feel like I could not have made this video without, and that is Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. And this is the third book in the Legend Born cycle series. Legend Born is so high on my TBR. I have no idea why I haven't picked it up yet, but I haven't. But this is definitely another series that I cannot wait to read. So let's get into the book. Bree Matthews is alone. She exiled herself from the Legend Born Order, cut her ancestral connections, and turned away from the friends who can't understand the impossible cost of her powers. This is the only way to keep herself and those she loves safe. But Bree's decision has come with a terrible price, an unbreakable bargain with the Shadow King himself, a shapeshifter who can move between humanity, the demon underworld, and the Legend Born secret society. In exchange for training her to wield her unprecedented abilities, Bree has put her future in the Shadow King's hands, and unwittingly bound herself to do his bidding as his new protege. Meanwhile, the other Scions must face war with their round table fractured, leaderless, and missing its King's Mage, as Selwyn has also disappeared. When Nick is detained by the Order's Merlins, he invokes an ancient law that requires the High Council of Regents to convene at the Northern Keep and grant him that audience. No one knows what he will demand of them, or what secrets he has kept hidden from the table. As a string of mysterious kidnappings escalates and the Merlins are found dead, it's become clear that no matter how hard Bree runs from who she is, the past will always find her. So if you've made it this far, share a celebration emoji with me in the comments and let me know what is on your list of anticipated reads, and if any of these are on there so far. But as we, since we are making it this far, let's move swiftly on. So the next one is one that I have put on for personal reasons, and I'm so looking forward to this one. And it is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. So The 7 Year Slip is one of my favourite reads of this year. Like, it might be one of my favourite reads ever. I just think that Ashley Poston writes rom-coms so well. And they're not just romance books, like they are actually funny, which I think is so important. And it is something that I feel is missing from actual rom-coms. Like, I feel like some of these marketed a rom-com and it's just not funny. With The 7 Year Slip, like, I actually did like laugh. Yeah. Here's the blurb. Joni Lark wants to create melodies that get stuck in your head and your heart. Her hometown has always given her surf, sand, and inspiration. But when her parents decide to close the family music venue, Joni's life begins to fall off key. She couldn't possibly write another song until a melody comes to her half-formed with an imagined voice that she can't forget. But when the very real, very aggravating man behind the voice shows up in Vienna shores, Joni can no longer deny their inexplicable telepathic connection. To get out of each other's heads, they have to finish the song that's haunting them both. But there's just one problem. They can't agree on anything. And if they don't change their tune, it might just end in heartbreak first. Oh, the magic, the romance. I cannot wait. I honestly, if you like romance and you have not read anything by Ashley Poston yet, you need to read The 7 Year Slip. Or I think she also wrote The Dead Romantics, which I haven't read yet. But honestly, The 7 Year Slip is so fantastic. And I listened to it on audio and it was very, very good. So you could read that. Okay, so we've got a couple of... Oh, actually, we've got a non-fiction now. And that is Love in Exile by Sean Fay. And that is out in February. So Sean Fay is back, and this time writing about love. I am currently reading the transgender issue, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm really enjoying it. And this actually sounds really up my street. So here's the blurb. Sean Fay grew up quietly obsessed with the feeling that love was not for her. Not just romantic love, the secret fear of her own unworthiness penetrated every aspect and corner of her life. It was a fear that would erupt in destructive counterfeit versions of real love she craved. Addictions and short-lived romances that were either euphoric and fantastical or excruciatingly painful and unhinged. Often both. Faye's experience of the world as a trans woman who grew up visibly queer exacerbated her fears, but as she confronted her damaging ideas about love and lovelessness, she became to realise that this sense of exclusion is symptomatic of a much larger problem in our culture. Love, she argues, is as much a collective question as a personal one. Yet, our collective ideals of love have developed in a society which is itself profoundly sick and loveless, in which consumer capitalism sells us ever new, engrossing fantasies of becoming more loved or lovable. In this highly politicised terrain, boundaries are purposefully drawn to keep some in and to keep others out. Those who exist outside of them are ignored, denigrated, and exiled. In Love in Exile, Sean Fay shows love is much greater than the narrow ideals we've been taught to crave so desperately that we are willing to bend and break ourselves to fit them. Wise, funny, unsparing, and suffused with a radical clarity, this is a book of and for our times, for seeking and knowing love in whatever form it takes. It is the meaning of life itself. This honestly is right on my street. Like, I'm on a real non-fiction kick at the minute, but this is definitely the type of non-fiction that I personally would pick up. I think it's so, I like things that like identify, this is something that I really like to talk about, but also it's actually a bigger issue in society, and here's how I'm going to connect the two. And I really, really like that. So yeah, I will absolutely be picking this up. It is out in February. So anyone who is a fan of Sean Fay or likes reading non-fiction about societal demands and love, this is definitely one for you. Okay, fans of Detransition Baby, rejoice, because Tori Peters is back. She's back though with a quartet of short stories, which obviously is quite different from Detransition Baby, but this is Stag Dance, which is out next year in March. Deep in the forest, a group of restless lumberjacks working in a legal logging outfit plan a winter dance that some will volunteer to attend as women. The broadest, strongest axeman finds himself caught in a rivalry with a pretty young Jack that culminates in jealousy, betrayal, and an astonishing spectacle of transition. Meanwhile, in other times and places, the gender apocalypse is brought about by an unstable ex-girlfriend, an illicit boarding school romance surfaces intrigue and cruelty, and a Las Vegas party weekend turns dark when a young cross-dresser must choose between a thrilling mystery man or a veteran trans woman offering unglamorous sisterhood. In this quartet of tales, Tori Peters' keen eye for the rough edges of desire reveals fresh possibilities. Acidly funny, boldly inventive, and breathtaking in scope, Stag Dance provokes and unsettles, inspires, and delights. I am so pleased that we've got something new from Tori Peters. I really love Detransition Baby, and it's still one of those books that I really recommend to everyone. I do usually struggle with short stories, so I'm not sure that I will pick this one up immediately, but I will absolutely be checking out reviews for it because I can't wait for what's next. Let me know if you're reading this one. Before we get started on the next one, I am obsessed with the title. So this is And They Were Roommates by Paige Powers, which if you are a queer person or like you're involved in queer media, you will understand how funny that is. But it's also funny because this is a queer YA boarding school romance following two students. So it's that classic double entendre, which I really enjoy. So here's the blurb. When Charlie joins Valentine Academy for Boys, love is the last thing on his mind. His only plan is to survive the school year with perfect grades and no one discovering that he is trans. Especially his roommate Jasper, a famous poet and Charlie's ex-camp romance, who doesn't seem to recognise him yet. The boys make a deal. Jasper will request a new room if Charlie helps him deliver secret love letters between the boys at Valentine and the girls at his sister academy. But as Jasper tutors himself in the arts of romance, will Charlie be able to keep from falling in love himself? This sounds so cute. And I love a boarding school or like just a normal school setting because I think it makes, it always makes for such a good cast of characters. And I just think that there is nothing better than a well-written group of teenagers who just, yeah, I just think it makes for really good writing and really good like pockets of like pocket scenes that aren't necessarily connected to the main plot. But yeah, I love a school setting and this is definitely high on the TBR. Coming in hot with a retelling for you now. So this is Hungerstone by Kat Dunn, which is out in February next year, and this is a sapphic retelling of Carmilla, which is the book that inspired Dracula. Kat Dunn has been on my list for a long time. I haven't read Bitterthorn and I absolutely need to because I keep seeing everybody talking about it and I have such intense FOMO about it. But here is the blurb for Hungerstone. Lenore is the wife of steel magnate Henry, but 10 years into their marriage, the relationship has soured and no child has arrived to fill the distance grown between them. Henry's ambitions take them from London to the Peak District to the remote, imposing Nethershore estate, where he plans to host a hunting party. Lenore must work to restore the crumbling house and ready it for Henry's guests. Their future depends on it. But as the couple travel through the bleak countryside, a shocking carriage accident brings the mysterious Carmilla into Lenore's life. Carmilla, who is weak and pale during the day, but vibrant at night. Carmilla, who stirs up something deep in Lenore, and before long, girls from local villages force it, consumed by a terrible hunger. As the day of the hunt draws closer, Lenore begins to unravel, questioning the role she's been playing all these years. Torn between regaining her husband's affection and the cravings Carmilla has awakened, soon Lenore will uncover a darkness in her household that will place her at a terrible risk. I love a retelling, and this one sounds so intense. So, I don't know, I think there's just something so great about taking a story that wasn't historically sapphic and making it sapphic, and I buzzing about this one. I think that sounds so good. One more that I actually think I could not have left off this is We Are Villains by Case and Callender, who is the author of Felix Ever After. And this is a dark academia YA novel, which is like about murder and blackmail. And yeah, it sounds really, really, really good. I think like dark academia YA is definitely such a fun subgenre of dark academia. I think it's great. So here's the blurb. Ari's death was ruled an accident, but for her best friend Milo, it's shrouded in mystery. Why was she in the woods on the night of the fire? Has she been alone? Figuring out what happened the night Ari died is the only reason Milo returns to the Yates Academy, even knowing he'll be in constant danger. Liam is king of the Yates, a role he keeps hold of through his family's old money and the threat of violence. So when he begins receiving ominous letters from another student accusing him of murdering Ari, the suspect list is long. Desperate to prove his innocence before the accusation ruins his reign, Liam enlists Milo's help to find the blackmailer, but the more Milo helps Liam, the more he becomes certain that Liam has something to hide. As Milo comes closer to the truth, he uncovers secrets that everyone wants to keep buried. Featuring a cast of queer characters of colour, We Are Villains is an electrifying mystery that will keep readers guessing. Again, love the school setting, love the mystery element. I think that this is so, so good. All right, we've got 3 books left on the list, and they're all fantastic. And I know that you think I'm just saying that because I've made the list. And that you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But next up is a brand new queer coming-of-age story by Dee Natter, who is the author of The Black Flamingo. This one is, again, written in verse, and it sounds so, so good. So let's read the blurb together. Kai is going into a new school with some big decisions to make. When to come out as gay, what he wants to do in life, and who he wants to date. Is it any wonder he can't think straight? Best friends Matt and Kai made a promise to each other to stay in the closet. Matt isn't ready to come out, but Kai wants nothing more than to write his own story. He decides it's time to break his promise and time to show his true self to the world. Now out and proud, Kai starts dating super hot Obi, but it's far from smooth sailing. Is love closer to home than Kai realises? I really love books written in verse. I think it adds a really fun facet to the reading experience. This one is out in May next year. So if you were a fan of The Black Flamingo, then definitely pick this one up. But if not, I still think you should pick it up. I think you should pick all these books up, actually. I think you should just pre-order all of them. So, sorry. Our penultimate book on the list is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this is just classic TGR. I feel like it's got everything that we know and love from her. So it's that heart-wrenching story. Sounds like it's got fantastic characters and a really dynamic backdrop. So here is the blurb. In the summer of 1980, astrophysics professor Joan Goodwin begins training to be an astronaut at Houston's Jack Johnson Space Center, alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates. Top Gun pilots Hank Redman and John Griffin, mission specialist Lydia Danes, warm-hearted Donna Fitzgerald and Vanessa Ford, the magnetic and mysterious aeronautical engineer. As the new astronauts prepare for their first flights, Joan finds a passion and a love she never imagined and begins to question everything she believed about her place in the observable universe. Then, in December of 1984, on mission STS-LR9, everything changes in an instant. You just know it's going to rip your heart. You just know that you're going to read this book and Taylor Jenkins Reid is going to come up to you and just pull your heart out. That's what's going to happen when you read this book. I wonder if there'll be a split timeline with this or if it'll just be told in the past. Interesting. So that is the penultimate book. The final author on our list is Ava Reid. So this is Fable for the End of the World, and that is out in March next year, so not long to wait. It is a standalone dystopic romance and has been described as perfect for fans of Hunger Games or The Last of Us. So if you like dystopia as a genre, you probably will like this. So here is the blurb. By encouraging massive accumulations of debt, a single corporation, Keras, controls all aspects of society. Anissa lives with her brother in a half-sunken town, barely scraping a living from their taxidermy shop. But their mother has secretly accrued enormous debt, and the only way to get out is to offer her daughter up to be a sacrifice for Keras' live-streamed assassination event, the Lamb's Gauntlet. Mel is the assassin chosen for this spectacle. The product of years of neural reconditioning and physiological alteration, she's a living weapon, famous for her cold brutality and deadly beauty, but she's also haunted by her failure in the last gauntlet when she broke down live on screen. But as Mel pursues Inessa across the wasteland, each determined to claim victory, they begin to question what they've been taught. Could there be more to life than survival? Could they be capable of more than death? Could they, against all the odds, be falling in love? Yes, I believe they could. And that takes us to the end of the list. I know I've apologised a couple of times, but I can actually only apologise for the amount of pre-ordering you're going to have to go and get done. It's going to be lengthy. So I'm sorry for the time you're wasting. Well, not wasting, but I'm sorry for the time you're going to have to put in. And I'm sorry for the money you're about to spend. But it's all in the name of expanding the mind. So enjoy. However, I do think you will forgive me a little bit because I do indeed have a prize for you. So if you've stuck around this long, here is the prize that I offered at the beginning of the video. So if you are in the UK, USA, Australia, Canada, or Italy, we are running a competition where you can read, it's not even a competition, you can win a read-along pass, which is basically a free opportunity to say, hey Tandem, I want to read that book and I haven't applied, but I want to be in it. And we can say, yeah, actually, you've got a read-along pass, so you can. Terms and conditions apply. The newsletter team would have me tell you. So the first 20 people who see this and email Jenny with the password presents, that is presents, will win a pass. I will pop Jenny's email up on the screen now, but if you're not watching the screen, it is jenny@thetandemcollective.com. So make sure you sign up to our newsletter. The link is in the description to receive your pass, and please also include the handle and your country, the country that you live in your email. And just for the sake of repetition, those countries that can take part are the UK, USA, Australia, Canada, and Italy. So thank you so much for joining me. I have had a lot of fun and have pre-ordered a lot of books. If you like this video, drop us a like or a subscribe. And if you are looking to keep up with what we're doing on at the team here at Tandem, we are on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. You can find the links for all those socials in the description. And like I just said, if you are interested in joining our pool of creators to be privy to what is going on and get onto campaigns, you need to sign up to our newsletter, and the link is also below. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.